For the best prices and service on Pokemon TCG singles and products, check out ccgcastle.com and use promo code Evolutionaries-5 for 5% off your next order.
Hello, Pokemon fans! I'm Professor K for the Pokemon Evolutionaries, and today we're back with another Deck Tech Thursday. This time we're going to be taking a look at a Zoroark Gardevoir deck. So, a lot of changes have happened to this deck over the course of time. Now, this, of course, is a pre-Forbidden Light list, because obviously Forbidden Light's not going to be legal until the third week of May. But this is a really solid list, and it has a lot of consistency. It may look a little funky, but I promise you the pieces all fit together in the end. So we're going to be taking a look at this deck here today. I haven't done this variant yet. I'm surprised, actually, N hasn't taken the opportunity to do that. If my memory serves me right, which sometimes it does not, I don't think we've done this list before, but if we have, then consider this an updated list. But I don't think we've done it. I forgot to look. But anyways, this is what I thought we should profile for today, and we're going to take a look to see how this works. Wow, I actually grabbed all the Pokemon in one shot. That was pretty solid. So first and foremost, this deck is mainly focused on Zoroark. So keep that in mind. Zoroark is the main focus, and Gardevoir/Gallade is the backup focus. So first and foremost, we have 4 copies of Zora here with the Stampede and Ram. You guys can select pretty much anyone you want. That's particularly legal, but this is the one that is most commonly seen, just because you can attack for 20 damage if you had to, I suppose, more than anything else. So there's 4 of these for the Zoroark, obviously. We're gonna line these up, and there's also going to be the same amount of copies of Zoroark. As I said, this deck is very, very much Zoroark focused, so a 4/4 line is to be expected, to be quite honest with you. So Zoroark, we already know, is a great card for its ability trade. Once during turn before you attack, you may draw a card from your, discard a hand from your hand and draw 2 cards. Plus, its attack Riot Beating, 20 damage times the number of Pokemon that you have in play. So it can do up to 120 damage on its own without even needing anything like a Choice Band. It can hit for 150, but that's not really what this deck is focused around. But you'll see here in a minute. So 4 copies of this. It does have a GX attack, Trickster GX. We will not be using that at all. There is no dark energy in this deck, so there's not even a need to really bring that up. Not to mention, most people don't really ever pull off Trickster GX anyway. All right, we also have 4 copies of Ralts. This is the Ralts from Burning Shadows. 60 HP. Not going to ever do anything with it, I wouldn't think. I mean, you could actually use Draining Kiss to do 10 damage and heal 10 damage, but if you're doing that, then the game's not going very well for you. Let's just leave it at that. There is no middle stage evolution, much like the Tapu Bulu list that I profiled a couple weeks ago. There is no middle evolution, so no Kirlia. We're going to jump straight to Gallade, 2 copies of that. Premonition, once during your turn before you attack, you may look at the top 5 cards of your deck and put them back on top of your deck in any order. So this has got a lot of synergy with trade, because you can look at the top 5 and put 2 of them there and then trade for them. It's pretty straightforward. I mean, that's where your consistency is really coming into play with the abilities, and Sensitive Blade is also a great attack as well. This card is fighting type, so it's going to hit Zoroark for weakness. You're hitting for 120 without a supporter, you're hitting for 180 with a Choice Band and no supporter, and you are hitting for 260 without a Choice Band if you played a supporter, and 320 with a Choice Band for weakness. It really racks up the damage a lot, but 60 damage, and it does 70 more if you have a supporter card that you have played during your turn. That's just really, really good. And if you can hit things for weakness, that's even better. And it's a 1 prize attacker, so you're hitting 2 prize attackers like Zoroark for 1-shot damage, and they're only going to hit you back for 1 prize in return. So that's really good. Also, we have 2 copies of Gardevoir GX. Again, this is more like a Zoroark Gallade Gardevoir deck, because it's the same count of Gallade and Gardevoir. But yeah, Gardevoir is obviously the best attacker in this deck. It's got a fantastic ability in Secret Spring. Once during your turn before you attack, you may attach a Fairy Energy card from your hand to one of your Pokemon. This is really good in a lot of ways because it can help boost the damage that Gardevoir does, and it can also help build up other attackers for later that require colorless energy. Like, you could attach them to Gallade and Zoroark. You could go Secret Spring onto this, and then next turn attach for turn and be able to still hit if this is gonna be knocked out. So that's really important. Infinite Force, 30 damage, times the amount of energy attached to both active Pokemon. So realistically, your Gardevoirs are probably always going to have a double colorless and a fairy attached to them. So that's already 90 damage, and then whatever your opponent has, it could be another double colorless, that's 120, that's 150, with a choice band, that's 180. If you have to attach more, you can, so that's another thing you can do as well. Twilight GX is another great GX attack. You can definitely use this in your deck quite a bit. Twilight GX, shuffle 10 cards from your discard pile into your deck. Resource management, get back things that you need. If you've had a lot of energy lost, you can GX them right back in as well. So that's also important. You're probably going to be using Twilight GX one every 2 to 3 games, pretty much guaranteed. You might even play it every game, to be quite honest with you. Next up, we've got a Mew EX in here because every deck runs a Mew EX at this point. Psychic type attacker that can use any attack of your Pokemon in play, if any Pokemon in play, yours or your opponent's, and you still, of course, need the necessary energy. So versatile is the ability that allows you to attack with it, which means Gardevoir can shut this down, but we've got ways of dealing with Garb as well, so we're not all that concerned about it. Also, just so you guys know, this Mew EX from the Premium Collection box, I probably will sell this card. I threw it in here for the deck just because it looks nice, but this is actually an extra of mine. It's like $30-something right now. It's kind of crazy, but I definitely do want to get rid of this card. So if any of you guys are interested in it, be sure to email me at contact@PokemonEvolutionaries.com because it is for sale. I have a lot of cards for sale. I just haven't made a sale binder yet. I need to do that, actually. But this is one of the cards. Just throwing that out there. We also have 2 copies of Tapu Lele GX in here as well. Wonder Tag is what you're going to be using it for more than anything. Searching for a supporter card when you bench it. And of course, Energy Drive does 20 damage. Times amount of energy attached to both active and, both active Pokemon, both your active and your opponent's active. So it's a great attacker in that as well. Obviously, your biggest focus is energy. You're going to be dealing damage based off energy with Gardevoir. In a pinch, you can use Lele for damage between energy amounts as well. Gallade depends on you playing a supporter, and then Riot is Beating goes off the amount of Pokemon you have in play. So there's just a lot of interesting strategies you can play with this deck, and it works really well. You can use Zoroark to search out your pieces with trade. Premonition allows you for even greater consistency because you can put those five cards on top of your deck. You can trade into 2, and then next turn draw into the other. That works really well. You've got versatility in Mew, being able to use any attack on the field as well as long as you have the necessary energy, which means pretty much any double colorless attack, you can use that at your disposal as well. Or Fairy. I mean, we run Fairy and double colorless, so either way works. So that's it for your Pokemon lineup. Your trainer lineup, we're going to start off with the supporters here. 3 copies of Bridget. This deck is very reliant on Bridget getting out your Zoras and your Ralts. So that's a big deal. Turn 1 Bridget is your best move by far. We also play 2 copies of Mallow. Search your deck for 2 cards, shuffle your deck, and then put those 2 cards on top in any order. This is going to boost your consistency with trade as well. I mean, you already have consistency with Gallade, but you can add even more consistency with Mallow, being able to search out those 2 cards that you may need and put them on top rather than depending on them being in the top 5. So there's that. Our draw supporters, we've got 2 copies of Cynthia. Shuffle your hand into your deck, then draw 6 cards. We've got 2 copies of N. Of course, you already know what N does. Both players shuffle their hand into their deck, draw the amount of cards remaining that they have in their prize cards. Pretty simple. And then we do have 1 copy of Professor Sycamore. Discarding is not what this deck likes, but sometimes you have to, and there's 1 of them in here just in case you need to. So your whole draw support is really reliant on Zoroark, but you do have 2 Cynthia, 2 N, and a Sycamore as well to draw. We also have 2 copies of ya boy Guzma to switch your opponent's benched with their active, one of your opponent's benched with their active, and switch your active with one of your benched. So 2 of those. And then for actual item cards, we've got 4 copies of Ultra Ball. Discard 2, get any Pokemon from your deck, put it into your hand, shuffle your deck. We have 4 copies of Rare Candy. Because we have no middle stage evolution, we want to go straight from Ralts to Gallade or Gardevoir, and this is the quickest way to do it. Again, we can search out the parts with the Zoroark trade engine, and we can get to it pretty quickly. So there's that. A must-have in all Zoroark deck, 4 Zoroark decks, 4 copies of Puzzle of Time. So you want to play this only when you have 2 of them in your hand. To get 2 cards from your discard pile, put them back into your hand. You don't really ever want to play this for the first one to look at the top 3 and put them back in any order. It's not optimal by any means. Even if you prized one, you can draw into it later and still be able to use the second effect. I don't recommend it unless you have absolutely zero choice. To deal with the Garbatoxin out there, we've got 3 copies of Field Blower. Also, this deals with Glaceon's ability as well. Glaceon GX does shut off abilities for your Pokemon EX and GX, which is kind of a big deal because every deck in here is an EX or GX that has an ability except for Gallade. So we need Field Blower. Get rid of those tool cards. Unfortunately, well, actually, now that I think about it, no, Glaceon doesn't even matter. That's just an ability. So if you play against Glaceon, GG, I guess. You're gonna have to Guzma around that one. But as far as Garb goes, you're able to Field Blower off the tool. So you got that. But yeah, you're gonna have to Guzma around Glaceon if you happen to play it. I haven't seen a lot of Glaceon being played, but if you run across it, well, that's what you gotta do to get around it. We got 2 copies of Evosoda as well. Search your deck for a card that evolves from one of your Pokemon. Put it on that Pokemon. This is going to obviously be used for Zora into Zoroark. If you can't find the Zoroark, this gets it for you, just right out of the deck. So we got 2 of those. We also have 2 copies of Max Potion. This is really, really good to save the life of your Gardevoir. A lot of times they can't hit that 230 damage in one shot. And if you really are playing the game the way you're supposed to, then you want to make sure that you only have 1 Fairy Energy and a double colorless attached to your Gardevoir. That way when you max potion, it doesn't hurt quite so bad because this deck does run low copies of energy. All right, we have 2 more item cards to close out the deck. First one is a Choice Band, of course, to deal 30 more damage to your opponent's active GX or EX. There's only 1 of these. Really, it's a pretty tight list, and you're not dependent on one-shotting everything anyway. So 1 copy of Choice Band is enough. We also have 1 copy of Floatstone to help retreat in case we get a position where we need to. Gardevoir's got a pretty heavy retreat cost of 2. So does Gallade as well, and so does Zoroark. So if we need to, we do have 1 option there. And as far as energy goes, we have 1 card was out of order there. We have 4 copies of Fairy Energy, just our only basic energy. 4 copies of Fairy. 4 copies of Double Colorless. And now it might not seem like much, but this deck really is not dependent on having a lot of energy in order to do the damage that it needs to do. Most of everything is Double Colorless, and most of the time you're going to attack with Gardevoir with only a single Fairy, a single Fairy and a Double Colorless attached, and you're not ever really going to one-shot. But if you can, and it's going to round out the game for you, then of course, you're going to go for it. But this should be enough for you guys, this energy here. And if you need to, you can always GX it back in with Twilight GX as well. So that's another important thing to remember. All right, guys, that's going to do it for this deck profile. Make sure you guys hit that like button, comment down below, subscribe for more TCG content. And we will see you guys next time for another Deck Tech Thursday in a week or so. Obviously, our schedules are variable based upon the amount of Forbidden Light that we get when it comes in and things like that. So there may not be one next week, but there will definitely be one the week after if there's not. So that's going to do it for today, guys. We'll see you next time. Take care. Have a great day.